Welcome back to the Pirate Republic. This is an audiobook presentation of Pirates of the Wild West, the first novel in the Storm of Time series, released one chapter at a time. Chapter 22. Prisoners. Hornigold paced the small cell after unsuccessfully trying to get some sleep in the uncomfortable little cot in the corner. It had been hours since he'd been questioned by Woods and his cohorts. He knew Thatch must be held in another room close by, as he'd seen a row of metal doors to the entrance of cells just like the one that he'd been thrown into. Rogers had seemed intent on questioning Thatch first when they were brought into the building. Hornigold had been put into his room, and that was the last he had seen of Thatch. He had called out to the man a few times, but no one had answered. The small, barred window in the door allowed him to see a bit of the hallway, but nothing more. There were no other windows or features to the brick walls that he was now confined in. He was about to sit on the cot again in frustration when he heard the door's lock being opened, and Woods, Rogers, Jennings, and the Wells Fargo agent, Cooper, let themselves in. "The stable was empty," Rogers said. "Maybe they all didn't make it back. Maybe they found a new place to hide out. I told you the truth. We were all going to meet back at the stable if we were separated. They must have realized Thatch and I were caught." "Perhaps, but what was the plan going to be after you divided the treasure?" asked Rogers. "Were you all going to join the James gang and rob more banks? Maybe another train?" Cooper asked. "We just needed money to sail back to England or some other godforsaken place. A few wanted to go back to the Caribbean, but from what I understand, we are a very long way from the Bahamas. We had no intention of joining anyone's gang. The arrangement with them was one of convenience that Anne Bonny had initiated. Maybe out of desperation, maybe she was just looking for an opportunity for revenge. One of the James brothers killed poor Jack Rackham, and we thought she had gone out to hunt them, but surprise, she had taken up with them. Never could figure out the minds of women. Also, we haven't seen Bellamy and Roberts since the first night we arrived. Figured those two are just as dead as Rackham, or just gone, swallowed up by this strange city. I'm sure Jennings told you all this, Woods. We all just want to go home. We had nothing after the Queen Anne's Revenge sank." "Plenty folks having nothing and don't take up with gangs of thieves. Lots of work in this city for able-bodied men such as yourselves," Cooper scolded. Hornigold just stared at the man in his well-tailored suit and manicured beard. This Cooper had the makings of a merchant, ranking officer, or maybe a nobleman of Hornigold's time. It seemed, though, that here in the late 1800s, he was a mere constable. "Benjamin," Jennings said, trying to reason with Hornigold, "what was the plan, and where can we find the rest of the pirates? It's not you they're after. I've explained to Mr. Cooper what a loyal Englishman you are, and that you must have been coerced into the schemes of Blackbeard and his like. For God's sake, you were a privateer with a letter of marque from the Crown at one time. The two James brothers are wanted killers, and the good Sergeant Cooper just needs your cooperation to bring them to justice." "You give us some more information," Cooper said. "Information that leads to me catching them, and you may go free when this is all over. Otherwise, if you don't help, you could find yourself swinging by the neck from a tree alongside your friend Blackbeard." He drew out the name Blackbeard threateningly with his accent. "Yes, you can't help the rest of them evade justice, but surely you'd like to save yourself," Rogers said. "Mr. Cooper here just wants the James men. He has told us that we are free to do as we wish with the rest of your lot. The king's pardon still stands, Benjamin. A signature absolves all sins. So come now, my good man. Tell us how to find the rest of them." Hornigold looked at the three men and their stern faces. "I already told you where to find them. Maybe wait around to see if they come back." Jennings strode right up to Hornigold's face. "Were you going to use the silver from the train to buy a ship? Were they going to the port? Maybe back to that brothel you were so fond of?" Hornigold returned Jennings's icy stare. "I don't know. Why don't you let me out of here and I'll help you find them?" Cooper let out a laugh. Then he looked at Woods and Jennings and saw that that was an idea they were entertaining. "You ain't seriously considering that? He's one of them. He'll warn 'em, or just run away." Woods and Jennings stared at Hornigold, matching the hard look he was giving them while they decided on their next course of action. "Gather up your men, Mr. Cooper," Woods said. "It's time we paid a visit to your city's docks." The men opened the cell door and started to exit. Woods turned to look over his shoulder at Hornigold. "Leave him here until he becomes more cooperative." Hornigold paced the small room again once they left. His mind was clouded with anger. He thought back to the night this all started. If he'd only stayed in Nassau instead of attending that damned meeting on Blackbeard's ship, he would not be in this tiny cell, marooned in a time so distant from his own. He stalked to the door and grabbed the bars on the small square window, his knuckles turning white from his strained grip. "Thatch! Thatch! Are you there, you rotten bastard?" Hornigold yelled. He then heard some loud shuffling and a bit of grunting. "Aye, I'm here, Benjamin. More in spirit than in body, but I'm here," Edward Thatch said from a cell several doors down from Hornigold. "Why did you not answer me earlier?" "Ha! Well, might have fainted from fright after laying me eyes on the blighted face of the pirate hunter. Either that, or it was his strikes to me head that put me to slumber," said Thatch. Hornigold let his anger fade some upon hearing Thatch's words. His closed fists relaxed and released the bars. He leaned his head against the door. "Woods can be a nasty one," Hornigold said. "Jennings, that rat as well. Never did like the man, pompous bone picker. Never really lived the life or the code of pirates. Don't know how Vane sailed with him for so many years." Hornigold never liked Vane much. The man was too cruel even for a pirate. Jennings just used him as a sharp end of a sword. If blood needed to be sprayed, Vane was the man to do it. He had no qualms with slicing off an ear, a finger, or a much larger body part to get what he wanted. "Those two don't seem to be working together at the moment," Hornigold said. "Number Vane was never going to give up piracy for that sham pardon written by a counterfeit monarch. It seems all for naught now that we find ourselves stranded here." The two men were quiet for a moment in the solitude of their cells. Hornigold turned and leaned his back against the door, head next to the window so he could still hear Thatch. "Woods is going to see us hanged," Hornigold told Thatch matter-of-factly. "Aye, sure, would have loved to see the Queen Anne's Revenge sail again. I do love that ship. She's the greatest prize I've ever taken. Do you think that little scientist can actually raise her from Davy Jones's locker?" "I believe, Benjamin. I believe." I hope you're enjoying this historical fiction book with pirates and time travel all wound together in it. You can find the ebook and physical books at my website, briancantrell.com. You can also find the second book in this series, Pirates of World War II. And if you're a fan of pirates, you can check out thepiraterepublic.com. It's a weekly newsletter that I put out every Friday. All sorts of great pirate history, events, news, and happenings. You can also toss a few doubloons our way by joining our Patreon at Patreon, The Pirate Republic. We'll see you next week. Till then, fair winds and keep a weathered eye.